in your line of work, you emphasize the importance of training coordination over isolated strength. Do you mind elaborating this approach, I guess, for the audience, perhaps following the more sort of traditional model of strength training and conditioning?
First, you have to look at the traditional model and see what the weak point is. Actually, there's two things that are really a weak point. The first weak point that I saw, it's utopian, because you find one approach with all the details in it that is not just plotting out what the benefits are of the training, but also plotting out what the negatives are. It's not there. They only plot out the positives, and that's utopian. Because in dynamic systems body, it's such that if you want to improve one thing out of self-protection, it will decrease something else. As long as that is not the case, that they're not very diligent in plotting out what the negatives are of classic strength training, they're really missing the point. And the second thing that is, in my point of view, wrong in classic training is that they overestimate transfer of training completely. There is no transfer of training that's happening in the way they plot it out. Let's say start with the most stupid thing there is, like biomotor properties, like speed, strength. Those things are not existing. There's no such thing as strength. There's no such a thing as speed. It's all, let's say, a manifestation of something very complex. And then say, okay, do strength training so you become stronger, and it will automatically transfer. That's nonsense. It's just not happening. So if you look at training theory, the big problem is that anything that has to do with transfer of training is not well researched or well explained. So for transfer of training, you need specificity. Are there big books on specificity? Hardly anything. It's just an assumption. Where if you would take it serious, then you would have really, really big textbooks on specificity. Because when you can analyze that in very great detail, then you know if I do something here in an S&C setting, you have a chance that it will show itself over there in the sports setting. And the whole transfer problem is seen as something magical or something that we take for granted, and that's a big problem. So what I try to do in my books is to give a little bit of an idea of what it could be. I mean, I have to be very modest on that, because what I write down about transfer and specificity is also still in the dark ages. Let's be honest, right? Because we just don't know properly how it works. And I try to make that the centerpiece of how you should think